I said, put the bunny back in the box.
All right, so this is a random movie, Monkey Shines from 1988. I was always, well, I won't say always. I recognize the title of this movie, that's for sure. I recognize the name Monkey Shines. I felt like I'd seen a couple scenes here and there, but when I was watching it, I didn't, really recognize much of it at all. But the reason that I wanted to watch this, or that I watched it at all, is I listened to a podcast called How'd This Get Made, and they always watch questionable movies. A lot of times they're bad, and they just make fun of it the whole time. This is the movie that they watched, so I wanted to. It's on Netflix, so it was easy to throw on, and I just figured I'd watch it, and so then I knew what they're talking about on the podcast when I listened to it. So I was really surprised when I got into it that I saw that it's written and directed by George Romero of Night of the Living Dead. So that surprised me at first. I guess it's based on a novel, but he wrote the screenplay and directed it. So that's interesting. And so the basic plot of the movie is about. I guess I'll get into it a little bit in detail. So our main actor is Jason Beggy. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. I don't really recognize him from movies, but I do recognize him if you watch Californication at all, the TV show with David Duchovny. He played a character named Bateman in that, another author. But anyways, he plays our main character named Alan. Right away, we know that he's a very promising young man. He loads up a bag full of bricks, a backpack, and he's on a run. He's going for a run, and he's in law school and all this stuff. He's got all that stuff going for him. He's got a beautiful girlfriend and everything. But he gets hit by a truck, a semi, in a very funny scene of one of the weirdest hit by a semi scenes that you'll probably see in a movie. Gets hit by a semi, and he ends up being a quadriplegic. So, in the hospital, and he comes home, and he's in a wheelchair. He has to use the little straw to move, his wheelchair and everything. He gets an in-home nurse, but, well, I'll get to her later, but, so he's there, he's kind of depressed. His wife, or not his wife, his girlfriend, gonna leave him. She's being really weird. But he always has a friend, so his best friend comes over, and we get a good introduction to him. He's played by John Pankow. His name's Jeffrey in this. I recognize him from The Secret of My Success, the movie with Michael J. Fox. He plays one of his buddy from the mailroom. But anyways, we get a good introduction to him. So right away I get like a Reanimator vibe from him. He's like kind of like the crazy scientist doing some weird experiments. He's in his lab. He's working with a bunch of monkeys. I don't think they're rhesus monkeys. I forgot what kind they are. But doing research on a bunch of monkeys, trying to give them better memory. He's injecting them with some human brain samples. Like they say, like it's the memory cells or something like that of a human brain. He's injecting them in there. So this monkey, well, one in particular. But he hasn't really been seeing much progress in his research. But when his buddy Alan gets hurt, he comes over, and, he sees he's struggling and stuff like that. Eventually, he wants to donate one of his the monkeys from his research to help Alan as a helper monkey. So he takes one of the monkeys to a trainer, and she trains the monkey to help him and stuff like that. So that's our plot. And then monkey's name is Ella. She becomes a very pivotal part of the story. So we see that Ella's learning really, really quickly. She's picking up on everything way faster than most monkeys would. And eventually we see that they get this kind of a weird bond together, Ella and Alan. It's almost like she can read his mind, and eventually he can kind of see through Ella's eyes when he's like asleep. And so that's happening. And eventually Alan starts getting more and more aggressive, and it kind of starts with his nurse. And then his nurse is just a jerk in general. She's like really mean to him, kind of for no reason. I mean, he's quadriplegic, he can't move, and she's really mean to him for I didn't like her at all. But she has a pet parakeet or some sort of bird in the house, and it kind of attacks Alan when he's laying in bed, and he can't do anything. It's on his face, and he can't like swat it away. And then in the next morning, his nurse finds the bird in her shoe, and it's killed. And she blames Ella, the monkey, and starts yelling at him, saying that they're in cahoots and all this stuff. So, but then eventually, some of the there's more killings that happen. In particular, Alan finds out that he might not have had to be quadriplegic. There may have been something that could have been done during his surgery. And he starts blaming his doctor, who is played by Stanley Tucci. And he has subsequently started dating Alan's ex-girlfriend, Linda. And those two end up getting caught in a cabin, and they get set on fire. And Alan thinks that it's his fault. He thinks that him thinking about killing the two has caused Ella to go over to the cabin and set on fire. And so I don't go through the whole plot, but that's kind of what happens. So Ella starts doing these crazy killings, and there's like this weird mind connection between the two, Ella and Alan, and they have to eventually stop it. And it's kind of hard to convince people that this little monkey is on a killing spree. Well, the interesting part is, though, that we know she's doing it. We know that Ella is doing these things because we can see it. It's just kind of convincing other people, like his friend Jeffrey, who gave him the monkey, and then the trainer becomes like a love interest. Melanie, she becomes a love interest for Alan, and it's just tough for him to explain it. But that's the story. I thought the kills were pretty good. Actually, they're pretty clever. Because considering you have this little monkey, and how are you going to make these kills interesting and believable? I thought they're pretty clever. I don't want to describe exactly how she does all of them, but they're more believable and more clever towards the beginning. Towards the end, they get a little more ridiculous when Alan gets the people to actually believe him. Because at that point, they're just like, okay, you're kind of just fighting a little monkey, but they started out pretty good. I thought that his buddy Jeff, who was the one that was doing the research, even though his story is not completely fleshed out, I think he's an interesting character. Kind of that crazy scientist. And the actor John Pankow does a really good job, actually. His acting's really good, I thought. I think the biggest problem is that there's parts missing from what Romero originally shot to what the final product was. I think if I read correctly, if I remember, some of the studio got in there and kind of cut up some things, and it kind of shows, because there's no reason for Alan and Ella to have any sort of connection. So that's the biggest problem, is why he can see through her eyes when he's sleeping, and why she feels so strongly about his emotions and stuff like that. That's never explained. I think there is pictures that you can find online of a brain surgery scene of Alan, but that's not in the movie. So it just kind of raises all these questions about what did they cut out, and whatever that part of the movie was, could it have explained, the big question at hand is how they have this connection. But, I mean, even with that, it's not a huge problem. I found myself, I was really getting into it most of the time. It ends up feeling a little bit long. It is kind of a long movie. I think it's right over 2 hours. Yeah, it's just right at like the 2 hour mark, so it could be a little shorter on time. But, there's a couple of things I remember. Ellen goes on these often funny rants and just these expositions, and a lot of times he starts talking about the devil, and it's all his sin and stuff like that is causing certain things, and they're just coming out of nowhere. There's like no religious aspects to the movie or anything. He'll go on these little rants and just start talking about sin and the devil. He does it like a couple times, and they just come out of nowhere. It's really weird. I was just confused. It's like, okay, where is this coming from? This has nothing to do with any of the other plot in the whole movie. It's just weird. But so yeah. Other than that, oh, I guess I also thought that the handling of the animals throughout the whole movie is really good. It ends up looking really, really decent for working with. They give credit to one monkey as Ella, but I think I also read that or heard that there might have been like 6 monkeys that were used. But either way, it's really well done and shot really nicely, because I can imagine that could get out of control really quickly when you have a monkey as one of the main characters. So I thought that was done really well, handled nicely. So with the work of Ella the monkey and I think Jeffrey the scientist probably give the best performances. There's a really funny, I don't know funny, but interesting sex scene between Melanie and Alan. This is after he's quadriplegic, so go ahead and let your imagination run wild about how a quadriplegic is in a sex scene. But so yeah, it's not the best movie in the world. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5, but it's not the worst either. And I think it was kind of marketed as a horror movie because of Romero. I didn't see it as a horror movie very much. I guess I don't know what I'd call it. It's like a sci-fi drama, and almost like a little bit of, I don't want to say Frankenstein, but experimentation gone wrong. But I'd give it. I mean, if you're looking for something to watch, something random, throw this on. Maybe watch this and then listen to the podcast. How did this get made? This is one of their latest episodes. But yeah, I guess the other thing I was going to mention is that I remember. So the poster for this movie has one of those monkeys with cymbals, the banging cymbal monkeys, and it's like a direct rip-off of a Stephen King novel cover for Skeleton Crew. It has like the exact same cover of a cymbal monkey. That was really interesting because they're kind of, I don't know, riding the coattails of Stephen King, maybe getting people to think that this is a Stephen King book or something. I always thought it was because of that, but it's not. It's George Romero. But yeah, okay. I guess that'll be it. Be nice to helper monkeys.